So, welcome everybody. This is our monthly downtown wrap meeting, which we are going to be transitioning to a different time and a different setting. But I am glad that a few of us are here today just so we can sort of have an informal conversation. I'm Landon with SB Act, and this is obviously a partnership with the City of Santa Barbara. So, here with Barbara Anderson from the City Administrator's Office, as well as PD, and I'm joined by my colleague Eric as well from SB Act. So just the big announcement is just that the transition. And let me just edit this slide to take off the other date so there's no confusion. But the down actually, Barbara, do you want to just explain a little bit about the transition
Yeah.
to the Downtown Santa Barbara Improvement Association and what's going on there?
Well, and I think Landon, just to share that we've been facilitating the regional action plans for 4 years, 5 years, 4 years, 4 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2020 COVID era.
Yeah, during COVID. So it's been 5 years. And these were meant to really bring together a cross-section of residents and business owners, city staff, other service provider organizations to talk about neighborhoods in the city of Santa Barbara that are, really dealing with the significant impacts of people experiencing homelessness, as well as the total number of people in need in each of these neighborhoods. So, during COVID, things were changing every single day. So the need to connect and do that regularly and find those pathways to both assist people as well as assist our businesses, this became that touch point. And I will say high engagement, very robust dialogue, a lot of questions. We were, facilitating referrals and then directing people to resources and information. And Elaine, this is where we connected to and created the homelessness response directory. So all of this activity has been happening for the last several years. And I think for this regional action plan, we actually had two separate ones. We had a waterfront and then a downtown State Street one. We combined them about Landon, I think a year and a half ago.
I think that's right.
Um, yeah, and then I think too, we've had multiple ways to engage folks in the downtown corridor and along the waterfront. So people know who to reach out to for the most part now when they have a concern or a question or something comes up. And we have SB Connect, which is a new pathway for people to report encampments and homeless individuals in need and for us to be able to connect folks to resources. So I think, given those multiple pathways, we really want to go back to meeting folks where they're at. And predominantly, this group has been oriented to businesses, hospitality industry, that we see along the waterfront and the downtown corridor. And so the downtown organization that has existed for many, many years, was a business improvement district organization. And now that has been expanded to be a community benefit improvement district. And so it includes a more representative area of the downtown corridor, not just businesses being members, but property owners being members. And so the group has expanded, has a new board, new name. Robin Elander is still the executive director, but she went through a hiring process. And some of the team has transitioned to this new organization as well. So they have established what they're calling a civil sidewalks committee. And that committee has been charged with kind of general public health and safety issues, and engagement with our vulnerable population in the downtown corridor. So we've been talking with Robin about, hey, how about we, add to your agenda for those monthly meetings, instead of, asking folks to be at another meeting at another time, just because we've seen kind of the decline in engagement for this meeting over the last, I don't know, it's probably been 6 or 7 months, maybe Landon,
Yeah, I'd say.
that we've seen that. And then the summer is just busy for hospitality and businesses in general. So it's hard to kind of get that engagement, during these months as well. So I think making the transition and Landon kind of attempting to just be on their regular standing agenda is a great way to connect with folks. And then we'll continue the regional action plan walks and engaging with businesses. Another component, just Elaine, for your background too, is our CityNet homeless outreach team, as you're familiar with, has been 7 days a week for a year and a half now. And so they're also touching bases with like businesses on the downtown corridor. So if there's again issues or concerns or someone who just needs assistance, they're touching base with them regularly as well. So again, multiple touch points happening. And then I think, really, really justifies the shift for us to say, okay, let's go where folks are already meeting rather than asking them to come here. If that explains it well. But Lena, anything to add to that?
Just that for anybody who might be watching this recording or Elaine or just that the meeting agendas for the downtown Santa Barbara the civil sidewalks meetings are not going to only be
Yeah.
homelessness. So you just need to know that if you join that Zoom,
Yeah.
I think this last meeting we were probably 45 minutes into the meeting because there's a lot that they're
Yeah.
working on to try and improve the just like kind of the general public areas downtown. And so obviously it's open for
Yeah.
public attendance and public comment for those other items too, but just know that if you want to talk about homelessness specifically, it won't be the first thing that's discussed, most likely.
That's a
Um,
very good point. And they're still in the building the new structure. So, yeah, really, there's a lot that's transitioning from the downtown organization, but a lot that's completely new. So yeah, that's a very, very good point. And, people, I hope most people, there's staff turnover everywhere, kind of know how to engage with us, know who to get a hold of. We're usually a direct call or one phone call away from accessing any one of us here. So we just want to continue, having that rapport and having that direct contact with folks too. So, Landon, I think, as opportunities arise, especially like the all call meetings, maybe we can just drive more engagement for quarterly meetings and say, hey, this is really a touch point that we're going to focus in more on rather than kind of the monthly. And then the A side wrap will continue. One, it's a requirement for a past conditional use permit, so that has to continue. And two, there's consistent engagement there and not really another avenue to reach people. So we're going to keep that going for what we can see for the foreseeable future as well.
and since you mentioned the East Side Rap, I'll just
Yeah.
make a plug. The next one is this Friday at 10 a.m. on Zoom. Um, so yeah, just please keep reaching out to us with specific homelessness concerns, but you can also attend those downtown Santa Barbara meetings as well. And we'll all still be there, still having these same conversations, but hopefully with some more people involved.
And Elaine, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'd love to check in to see how things are going with the fencing around Dwight Murphy. I know some areas were able to actually leave parking on one side of the street. And then there's, on Port Lamar trying to get some access there to remain as well. But how are things going for you, especially your employees?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so our employees will start parking at the Hilton
Okay.
tomorrow. We have
That's
I
great.
think a 13 passenger shuttle van
Oh,
that
that's great.
will
Okay.
transport back and forth as needed. And we have that partnership with the Hilton, so
Yeah.
that's lovely.
Okay.
I'm sure some will also park on the street. That's just
Yeah.
is. Um, but yeah, we're trying to make more space for our guests. And that will be just for our busy summer season. Of course, today's the last day of school for most places
Okay.
locally. So
Yeah.
um, that starts tomorrow, actually, is the parking. So
Okay.
we will see how it goes as we enter into the busy summer season.
Yeah, the busy summer season, absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
yeah,
No,
absolutely.
I'm glad that you have that partnership with them. That's excellent.
Yeah, 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 for sure.
Good. Great.
Can we double put you on the spot, Elaine? We usually have like towards the beginning of the meeting is when we ask community members about any community concerns related to homelessness. So anything you wanted to share about or questions you had?
I don't think so. Yeah, not at this time. Thanks.
Okay. Well, you know where to find us if anything should arise. And we're expecting, people are going to be moving around with especially with the Dwight Murphy remodel. So, um, and then just for the sake of having this on the recording too, for anybody who couldn't be here, Barbara, are you able to share updates about the city council discussions around budget for homelessness? I know we
Yeah.
talked about it a little bit last month.
Absolutely. So we were in a very fortunate position because voters approved Measure I, that we were actually able to have a 2-year budget cycle that doesn't have cuts to it. So this is for the first time in a very, very long time. And we were able to restore and support some very critical positions across police department, library, and parks and recreation. So the police department is always in a number of vacancies at any given time, but they do have approval, even if they've reached, the number of officers that are currently vacant, to come in for 3 additional officers that have been unfrozen. So yeah, still kind of using budget dollars as they're available and vacancies and those savings to be able to restore that. But the keeping the library open 7 days a week, Parks and Rec programs being able to be maintained and bringing back some of the youth serving programs is huge for our city. Um, and in addition to that, we have $1.5 million in what we're calling flexible funding for housing and homelessness. So knowing what's happening on the federal level, seeing the numbers uptick here countywide in terms of our unhoused population, really concerned about the increasing numbers around vehicular homelessness, really having kind of a flexible pool of dollars to be able to react and respond to both new projects and opportunities, but also some urgency that might be coming out of how things land on the federal funding side. And then right now, we're proposal to allocate $3.5 million to the local housing trust fund. So that would include a $1.5 million from the general fund, as well as a $2 million allocation from reserves for both 26 and 27. So $5 million total for housing and homelessness related needs. So really phenomenal opportunity, I think, for all of us to continue the momentum that's been happening around affordable housing and being able to support nonprofit service providers in making that happen. So really good news, I think, across the board. Mostly celebratory. It was a little bit of a marathon to get to this final place, but like really good, robust discussion from mayor and council on this. And that things don't get easier, moving forward. So they're trying to be really conscious and conservative about the resources we currently have and how we're deploying them. So yeah, that's the update from us.
Thank you. That is great. And the our neighbors in Goleta are having to make some cuts to their homelessness
Exactly,
programming.
yeah.
So we're just grateful that we've been able to
Yeah, we're
prioritize
able
that in
to
the city.
maintain, and we're actually using Measure I to address the cut in permanent local housing allocation, which is what we've been using for homelessness. So part of that proposal was backfilling those contracts and then still having the 1.5 million flexible fund on top of that. So yeah, very fortunate to be able to maintain. And then the last thing, I think I mentioned this last time too, but Mayor and Council has approved the reorganization of the City Administrator's Office, which will include a Deputy City Administrator. And the position is out there and posted. So we're really excited to be getting those applications in, who will oversee housing and homelessness, community vitality initiatives, which includes our State Street Master Plan, and then our downtown team, kind of downtown parking team that we're going to be calling Downtown Services. So really bringing that all together and being much more strategic about how we approach that. So exciting, very exciting to have additional capacity there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No other significant updates to share at this moment from our end. Obviously, we're all still working things out to determine what's kind of next for the Faro Center in downtown, working with the city, and I think all of us are hoping for a good solution there. We know that there's something needed, and we're hopeful that we can work something out. So we'll share more as we have more information. But anything else while we're all together?
We're seeing what is part a seasonal shift and just a part of, our vulnerable population, experiencing a little bit of an uptick. We have, significant impacts along the waterfront with folks that we usually see this time of year. And we have youth summer camps that are coming in next week too. So we're just really trying to manage both needs as well as making, spaces safe and comfortable for everyone. So our team is heavily focused on that right now and will be through the weekend and next week. And then, in the downtown corridor, as always, we have a little bit of an uptick through the weekends and it's a little bit quieter during the weekdays. One of the reasons is Faro Center is open during the weekdays, but on the weekends, people tend to kind of come in to, really embrace nice tourists. So, just we accept and take on any report that comes in the weekend. We can route that to CityNet, like I said, because they're 7 days a week. Our team is available to respond to any concerns too. So we just always want to make sure that people know that 7 days a week there's someone out there and covering to make sure that we're able to address the needs. So, and not necessarily over relying on PD, but we have members of the city team that can help and engage. And the sitting at hours have shifted slightly, so they're they're not going as late into the night. So they're 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. instead of going to 11 p.m. at night. We just thought it wasn't as effective, wasn't as needed. There's very little that they could do after 8 o'clock. So we've adjusted those hours, and that started about 2 months ago. So I think it's landing a little bit better, and we're able to utilize them more on Thursdays and Fridays because of that too.
One other question, Barbara. We know the point in time count results from 2025 are kind of just being released. Is there a plan right now to have a City of Santa Barbara specific presentation?
Yeah, so we haven't received our detail yet.
Okay.
All we received was high level, which is our overall number increased from 987 to 1045. Um, and then the increases we're seeing among vehicular homeless. Again, that's continuing to uptick substantially, as well as our sheltered. So we're doing a really good job getting people off the streets in terms of visible homelessness. But that vehicular homelessness number is super concerning. The strategies, as the SBAC team knows, are completely different. And we have additional resources right now through the California Encampment Resolution Fund grant program, but they don't last forever. So we're trying to get as many people enrolled, as many people housed as possible. New Beginnings is doing a great job, but it just feels like, the housing crisis up against families, seniors with restricted income is just really coming to a head right now. And so I do think our conversations moving forward are different strategies because it just requires a very different approach than what we've been doing, I think, for unsheltered homelessness the last several years.
Mhm. Thank you, Barbara.
Mhm.
Um, Lieutenant Beltran, do you have any updates from the CAT team you wanted to share?
Yeah, thanks. So just really the only update is that it seems like we're always kind of going through some like a transition. But we just had two officers that were previously on our nighttime bike team that primarily worked downtown waterfront areas. They just transitioned to full-time cat positions, which vacated their current nighttime or evening positions. So I'm flying a flyer right now to get people at the PD that are interested in that position to apply, and then we'll hopefully fill those in the next 3 to 4 weeks. So currently what we did was because we have those two spots vacated, to get a little bit of both daytime and nighttime, we transition their hours kind of like CityNet to 10 o'clock to 8 p.m. or 10 a.m. to 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. to work downtown and waterfront on bikes, to address any community concerns and things like that downtown. And then mid to late July, we'll have two other people to transition to the evening team. So that way we'll have the other team back to the early daytime, and then the nighttime team to work during the evenings. Other than that, like Barbara said too, with the change in weather and the season with the waterfront, we know there's a lot of issues that are going on down there. So we're going to be focusing a lot down the waterfront. We have the summer camp schedule we got from parks, so we're aware of that, and then we're just going to keep addressing those issues. But nothing really all that new that we're noticing or anything like that. Just a couple updates from our team.
Thank you. I hope for your sake and for everybody's sake that they are able to fill those spots soon. All right. Anything else while we're all together? All right. So once again, we will not have a meeting on the second Thursday of the month. Instead, we will be meeting the first Thursday of July as a part of the DSBIA Civil Sidewalks Committee. So that will be available on Zoom. We'll share that out before the meeting happens. But we encourage you to join us if you're able. Otherwise, in the meantime, please feel free to continue reporting homelessness concerns through the SB Connect app, or you can report directly to Barbara as well. And then the East Side Wrap meeting will continue this Friday at 10 a.m. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.